Warren Spahn was pretty special. A stylish left-hander. If anybody ever fit that description, it was Spahny, not only with the array of pitches that he threw, but he had a classic wind-up and a great pickoff move.
On the 2nd of July, 1963, a 42-year-old man threw 201 pitches against a 25-year-old at the peak of his career. 16 innings, no runs allowed, and he lost. The man who threw those 201 pitches was Warren Spahn, the left-handed pitcher with more wins than any other in the history of Major League Baseball. He never wanted to be a pitcher. He started later than anyone else. He was called a coward before he became a legend. So how did a skinny kid from Buffalo, a kid every scout in America laughed at, become the owner of the most durable left arm this sport has ever seen? Buffalo, New York. East End, a blue-collar neighborhood where Ed Spahn sold wallpaper for $27 a week. No car, meat on the table once a week, if they were fortunate. When the children's shoes wore through, they stuffed the soles with folded newspaper and kept walking. Ed had a dream that died quietly. He played semi-professional baseball, a third baseman with good hands and a strong instinct for the game. But he stood 5'7" and weighed 130 pounds. Too small. The big leagues never came. And eventually, Ed understood they never would. So he did what fathers do when their own doors close. He built one for his son. In the backyard of that small house, Ed Spahn constructed a pitcher's mound out of dirt. Every afternoon, he brought his left-handed boy out and taught him not just how to throw correctly, how to rotate the shoulder, how to let the body carry the pitch instead of the arm fighting alone, how to follow through so that nothing in the mechanics would tear or strain over years. Warren found it tedious. He would rather just pick up a ball and throw it hard, but his father would not allow that. "You've got to have control," Ed told him again and again. "Without control, you're nothing." On game nights, they walked to watch the Buffalo Bisons together. After the games, on the walk home, they talked through every pitch they had seen, every moment the batter was fooled or was not fooled. Those conversations were the real classroom. Years later, when people asked Warren Spahn to explain why he could pitch effectively at 42 when most men his age had retired long ago, he pointed directly to those afternoons in Buffalo. The answer was not talent. The answer was a father who understood that the body, taught correctly from the beginning, does not need to break. If you have someone in your life who passed their unfinished dream to you, you already understand what this story is really about.
Warren Spahn was pretty special. A stylish left-hander. If anybody ever fit that description, it was Spahny, not only with the array of pitches that he threw, but he had a classic wind-up and a great pickoff move.
Warren Spahn arrived at South Park High School wanting to play first base. The position was already taken, so, reluctantly, he walked to the pitcher's mound. What followed surprised everyone. He led the team to 2 consecutive city championships, went undefeated his final 2 seasons, and threw a no-hitter in his senior year. When scouts arrived, most saw a tall, narrow teenager with not enough weight on his frame. Too skinny, they said. He will never last. One scout disagreed. A part-time evaluator for the Boston Braves named Billy Myers signed the young left-hander for $80 a month. The minor leagues were difficult. A shoulder injury in his first season sent him home with his arm in a sling. His father fell into a depression serious enough to require hospitalization. Warren spent that autumn checking baggage at a Buffalo Railroad terminal. He recovered. He came back. By 1941, pitching for Evansville, he posted 19 wins and threw 42 consecutive scoreless innings. The Boston Braves promoted him, and then he met Casey Stengel. In the spring of 1942, Stengel ordered Spahn to throw at Brooklyn Dodgers shortstop Pee Wee Reese, deliberately, to intimidate. Spahn refused. Stengel walked to the mound. The words were brief and final. "After your shower, pick up your railroad ticket to Hartford." Demoted. The reason given was that the kid lacked courage. That story has a second half. Years later, Stengel called that decision the worst managing mistake of his life. His exact words: "I said no guts to a kid who went on to become a war hero and one of the greatest left-handed pitchers you ever saw." But in the spring of 1942, none of that had happened yet. The war was still ahead, and it was going to cost Warren Spahn 3.5 years of his career. On the 3rd of December, 1942, Warren Spahn enlisted in the United States Army. He was 21 years old. Most baseball players who served in the Second World War found ways to stay near the game. Spahn did not. He was assigned to the 276th Engineer Combat Battalion, men trained to build and destroy bridges under fire. He described his unit bluntly. Some had been released from prison on the condition that they enlist. Tough and rough, he said. He had to fit that mold. He found the mold. In the Hürtgen forest, his unit was surrounded. They fought their way out. The temperature froze, the ground solid. Spahn recalled that their feet were frozen when they went to sleep and still frozen when they woke, weeks without a change of clothes. Then came Remagen. In March of 1945, every bridge over the Rhine River had been destroyed by retreating German forces. Every bridge except one. The Ludendorff Bridge at Remagen became the most important structure on the continent. Spahn's unit was sent to maintain it under constant bombardment while tanks and infantry crossed above them. One afternoon, Spahn walked off the bridge to brief his platoon. 4 minutes later, the bridge collapsed. 28 soldiers died. 93 were wounded. Spahn survived because of a meeting. He received a shrapnel wound to his left foot, the Bronze Star, the Purple Heart, and a battlefield promotion to second lieutenant. Military records identified him as the only baseball player given a battlefield commission during the entire war. There was something else that happened during those years. At Camp Gruber in Oklahoma, a friend introduced him to a woman named Lorraine Southard, an executive secretary with remarkable business instincts. They fell in love. They planned to marry. She did not learn until after their wedding that her husband had received the Purple Heart. He had never mentioned it. When reporters later asked how he handled pressure in front of large crowds, he answered with complete calm. Pressure? What pressure? No one is going to shoot at me. That sentence explains everything, not just Warren Spahn the pitcher, Warren Spahn the man. Warren Spahn returned to professional baseball in June of 1946. He was 25 years old. Most pitchers his age already had 5 years of major league experience. He had none. Every win he would ever record would have to be built from that late starting point. He did not complain, not once. He said later that the war had taught him what matters and what does not, and spending energy on regret fell into the second category. In his first full season back, 1947, he won 21 games. He led the National League in earned run average, shutouts, and innings pitched. Scouts who had passed on him as too skinny were watching from press boxes and saying nothing. Then came 1948. The Boston Braves had two reliable starters, Spahn and right-hander Johnny Sain. A writer for the Boston Post captured the situation in a poem that has outlasted nearly everything else from that season. First we'll use Spahn, then we'll use Sain, then an off day, followed by rain. Back will come Spahn, followed by Sain, and followed, we hope, by 2 days of rain. In the final weeks of the pennant race, Spahn and Sain started 11 of the team's next 16 games. In one extraordinary contest, Spahn pitched 14 innings against the Brooklyn Dodgers, won 2-1, and threw out Jackie Robinson at second base twice on pickoff attempts. Boston won the National League pennant for the first time in 34 years. Warren Spahn, who had been away while men his age were building careers, had helped bring a city its first pennant in more than 3 decades. The World Series against Cleveland did not go Boston's way, but something had been established. Warren Spahn was now one of the most reliable pitchers in baseball, and he was only getting started. Here is a question worth sitting with. When does a pitcher reach his peak? For most, the answer is somewhere in their late 20s. By 35, the velocity fades. By 40, the body begins writing its own retirement letter. This is the accepted arc. Warren Spahn did not follow that arc. He rewrote it. Through the early 1950s, he won 21, 21, and 22 games in consecutive seasons, leading the National League in strikeouts each year. In 1953, he tore the cartilage in his knee during spring training. He told no one. He pitched through pain for the entire season, unwilling to give the organization a reason to move on from him. He won 23 games. He had surgery that winter, alone. Around this time, a young rookie named Willie Mays arrived in the National League. Mays began his career without a hit in 12 attempts, and there was talk of sending him back to the minors. Then he faced Spahn. Spahn threw what he later described as one of the better pitches of his life. Mays hit it over the fence for the first home run of his career. Spahn reflected on it with dry humor. For the first 60 feet, that was a hell of a pitch. We might have gotten rid of Willie forever if I'd only struck him out. He had not struck him out. Mays stayed, and the two of them would meet again in a way neither could have predicted. The winds kept coming. When his fastball slowed, he learned a screwball. When that was not enough, he added a slider. He studied opposing batters the way scholars study texts, rarely offering the same sequence twice in consecutive seasons. His catcher, Del Crandall, said the delivery was so deceptive that even he, standing 60 feet away, was sometimes fooled. At 39, Spahn threw his first career no-hitter against the Phillies, 15 strikeouts. At 40, he threw a second one against the Giants. Stan Musial offered what may be the most elegant tribute any pitcher has ever received. I don't think Spahn will ever get into the Hall of Fame. He'll never stop pitching. The question was not when Spahn would slow down. The question was whether he was capable of it. The answer came on the night of the 2nd of July, 1963. Candlestick Park, San Francisco, a cold Tuesday evening. Warren Spahn, 42 years old, took the mound against Juan Marichal, 25 years old. The Giants lineup included Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, Orlando Cepeda, and Marichal himself, 4 future Hall of Famers. The Braves countered with Spahn, Hank Aaron, and Eddie Matthews. What followed is still described as the greatest pitching duel the game has ever produced. Neither man allowed a run. Not in the first inning, not in the 5th, not in the 10th. The crowd that arrived expecting a good game slowly understood they were watching something without a name. Marichal reportedly told his manager he was finished after the 12th inning. He went back out anyway. By the 15th, Spahn had thrown more than 180 pitches. He went back out anyway. In the bottom of the 16th inning, shortly after midnight, Willie Mays stepped to the plate. Spahn threw a screwball that did not break the way it was supposed to. Mays swung. The ball cleared the left field fence. Giants 1, Braves 0. Both starters pitched all 16 innings. When Spahn walked into the visiting clubhouse, every teammate stood up. They formed a line and shook his hand. A fellow pitcher named Bob Sadowski said, "If you didn't have tears in your eyes, you weren't nothing." Giants manager Al Dark said afterward, "That was the greatest game I have ever seen by 2 pitchers." 5 days later, Warren Spahn took the mound again and threw a complete game shutout. Do you think any pitcher today would go back out there 5 days after something like that? Leave your answer in the comments below. Warren Spahn finished his career with 363 wins. No left-handed pitcher in the history of Major League Baseball has come close to that number. He won 20 or more games 13 times. He led the Milwaukee Braves to a World Series championship in 1957. He was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1973 on the first ballot. In August of 2003, the Atlanta Braves unveiled a 9-foot bronze statue of him outside their ballpark. Spahn, 82 years old and in a wheelchair, was brought in to see it. He looked at the figure frozen in his famous high leg kick and said, "I took great pride in mooning people. That's the reason I developed that leg kick." He died 3 months later. But before we close, the story requires one more detail. In 1965, Spahn was 44 years old, pitching for the New York Mets. His manager was Casey Stengel, the same man who had sent him to Hartford with a verdict of no guts 23 years earlier. Spahn pitched under him without complaint. When his time with the Mets ended, he offered one sentence: "I'm probably the only guy who worked for Casey Stengel before and after he was a genius." When baseball finally let him go, he did not call it retirement. He said, "I didn't retire from baseball. Baseball retired me." Now, go back to where we started. A 42-year-old man, 201 pitches, a loss. The kid with no guts survived the Hürtgen Forest, held a bridge over the Rhine, and came home to win 363 games. The skinny kid from Buffalo that every scout laughed at never became a first baseman. He became something far more permanent. If this story moved you, share it with someone who still believes they started too late. Leave a comment telling me which moment hit you hardest. And if you want more stories like this one, the next video is already waiting. Warren Spahn, the most durable left arm in the history of the game, built by a father in a backyard in Buffalo, tested by a war, and never, not once, broken.